Good evening. All right. My name is Julie McLaughlin. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and our superintendent, we welcome you to our January 2026 meeting. The time is now 7:14 and the board is returning to open session. We are resuming our agenda at item number 4. There is no action to be taken on matters discussed in closed session, so we will proceed to agenda item number 5, which is our opening exercises and pledges. The board welcomes Mrs. Acosta, principal of Hart Elementary School.
Good evening, board, and happy Board Appreciation Month. We, on behalf of Hart and all the principals, appreciate your time and commitment in everything you do. Today, I am happy to introduce two outstanding Hart students who truly represent the best of our school community. Lita Shaw and Casher Hall exemplify strong character, leadership, and a commitment to excellence in both academics and in their extracurricular activities. Lita loves spending time with her peers here at school and brings joy and positivity to those around her. Outside of school, she enjoys singing and sharing her talents with others. Casher loves coming to school to see his teachers and is a strong leader among his peers. He also demonstrates leadership beyond our campus as the quarterback for his football team, the Lovejoy Leopards. Both Lita and Casher are proud members of the Hart Ambassadors program, where they consistently show dedication, leadership, and a commitment to helping others both in and outside of the school. Please join me in welcoming Lita and Casher as they lead us in the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Lita and Casher welcomed me during my board appreciation visit to Hart Elementary, so I told them I would see them again tonight. Thank you very much. All right, agenda item number 6 is recognitions. And so first up, I'll hand to Ms. Cordell.
Thank you so much. January is Board Recognition Month. Lovejoy ISD students, staff, and administration are very proud and grateful to recognize our Board of Trustees for their outstanding governance. We want to honor and thank them for their dedication and commitment to not only Lovejoy ISD, but to public education. Our school board members give very generously of their time and talents to make decisions that are guided by what is best for each of our students. Their work requires thoughtful collaboration, careful stewardship of resources, and a steadfast focus on academic excellence and student well-being. Thank you to our Board of Trustees for your continued service. Your efforts make a lasting difference in the lives of our students and the strength of Lovejoy ISD. We have a very special tradition annually for Board Recognition Month, and that is at the January regular meeting, we have a dinner that is hosted by our Lovejoy Visual Arts program. And all of our Lovejoy Visual Arts teachers and a number of our visual arts high school students come and honor our trustees. And it's so fitting because our visual arts program, the students and dedicated educators that are part of that program are focused on many of the same things that our Board of Trustees is focused on, making sure we're focused on continuous improvement and excellence, that we bring joy and positivity and humanity to everything that we do. And the way that our visual arts program is able to physically manifest our appreciation for our Board of Trustees into the most beautiful artwork is just incredible. And every year, they surprise us and exceed every expectation we could possibly have, and then often move us to tears. And so Mr. McCasland is here to represent the Lovejoy Visual Arts Department and share a little bit about the way they are honoring the board this evening.
Good evening, everybody. First, thank you again. I'm so honored to be here with my kids. It's such a privilege to be able to be a part of a community that honors and values what we do as both creatives and thinkers. It's pretty extraordinary. As I told the board earlier, I'm very privileged in that because of the program we've built, I'm asked to speak at schools and conferences around the country to both educators and students and artists. And in that discussion, it always leads to people coming up, and after they see the students' work from kindergarten to 12th grade, they come up and they have a state of disbelief, and they say, oh, there's no way, right? This has to be this curated. Or they say, oh, this is clearly a private school. Or they say, you must be giant, and you're just selecting the best kids. And it's always really enjoyable to say no to all of that and say, actually, we're a very small public school. And when they ask and they say, well, how do you get these sort of outcomes? It's a hard answer because it's not one thing. And people want one thing. People want you to say, here's the one secret, right? And it never exists that way. And for us, it's a beautiful thing to answer and to say it's all these little things. And those little things start with our board. And our board comes in and selflessly leads and guides and spends time here and at home. They are committed. I love the word steadfast that you used. And it's that steadfast leadership that has led to 20 years as a high school program of us seeing students be able to come from pre-K all the way up and become extraordinary, phenomenal human beings. And their art is part of it. Their sports are part of it. Their ability as a musician, that's part of it. But it's not all of it. And for me, the joy is in being in a place and celebrating a community that honors the whole kid and really believes in building humans that are going to go out and not just be an artist, not just be an athlete, not just going to be really good at math, but to be good humans and to be really invested in other people and really able to take feedback and able to communicate. It's such an honor to be able to watch this board guide us and lead us, and them in partnership with not only our board, but our cabinet, and then our principals, and our administration, and our teachers. Because to be honest, if any part of that was askew, it costs our kids. And I love that we're unified, and we have a clear picture as a community of what we want to achieve. So for this year, for your board work, we created 20 pieces, and it's a celebration of the 20 years that we've had a high school. And in each of the 20 pieces are 20 tiles, and those 20 tiles were imprints of textures and patterns that were created from students at every single campus that we then fired, and I had my gallery managers curate and arrange them into beautiful compositions. We then grouted those into a frame so that they would serve as a reminder to our board of all those little things, those little decisions, those choices that we make to create habits and patterns for our students. Because I believe that it's not necessarily their test scores, it's not necessarily winning the game, it's the commitment to wake up early, to go to the weight room. It's the commitment to take time to study, even when you're at Young Arts. It's the commitment to wake up and swim when it's freezing cold and you don't want to walk to the bubble. It's all of those things that make our kids extraordinary, and it's led by you. It's led by the example that you set and that our administrators set and that we teachers set. And so my appreciation really can't be put into words because it means so much to be a part of an organization that values kids this much. So thank you.
All right, members of the board, Superintendent Cordell, thank you for having us tonight for student recognitions. We will keep our focus back into Lovejoy Visual Arts. And for student recognitions, we have a student at Lovejoy High School who's accomplished an incredible feat, and we're extremely proud. So I'd like to hand it back off to Mr. McCaslin for the details.
Thank you again. So we're here tonight to celebrate. Okay, so, yeah, that's his headshot as he laughs about it. So we're here to celebrate Keshav Sabash, and Keshav was announced as an award winner with distinction from Young Arts. And Young Arts is the organization that for over 40 years has been the gateway for presidential scholars in the arts. Now, this year, there were more than 11,000 applicants for this award, and Keshav was one of 20 visual artists that was selected from our country. A little bit of perspective. This isn't just about Keshav being a phenomenal visual artist. They really are looking at the student for what they've achieved, both academically, how they communicate their ideas, their creative gumption, the risk-taking they're willing to take, and then really being able to connect their work to something bigger than themselves. And Keshav does this really, really well every single day. It will probably make him uncomfortable. But Keshav is one of the most thoughtful young men that I've ever met. He is both patient and kind. He is strong enough to be able to be wrong, which I think is really hard. He's okay with taking enough risk to fail. And it bugs him, and we laugh when one of his designs doesn't work, because you can tell that he can't wait to get back to fixing it, right? And I think that this is a really clear picture of the artists and the thinkers that we hope to create, not just as a program, but as a district. Now, Keshav is really, really focused on creating machines and connecting his idea around visual thinking with his viewer and his ability. I give him a hard time and say he builds robots to battle each other, but he's an engineer. And so his artwork is not only moving and emotionally moving, but it is something that a lot of times physically moves and incorporates the viewer, which is a whole new avenue for art. There are a lot of things that I can say about Keshav, and one of the things that he's very giving. And so when he returned from his week-long experience in Miami, where he was there with the other 20 visual artists, finishing his college submissions as well, I asked him to just share a little bit in front of the class, and he came back to the studio, and he, like all of them, are very giving to each other. And I said, what was the thing that really stood out to you? And he said, man, I really think that it's this ability for us to be able to communicate and work together. And I asked Keshav to produce something that I thought he would read it, but I'm going to read it for him. And it's beautiful because Keshav puts a lot of thinking into the way he writes and the way he communicates his work. So I'm going to paraphrase. It's okay. It's nice. It's not overly long. Wow. It's an exclamation used to express great astonishment or admiration. There have been a few moments in my life where the word felt truly earned. The most recent, of course, was Young Arts. It was just incredible. I mean, there's not much like it. Nowhere else that brings together and empowers thriving high school artists from around the country with that level of consideration and lifetime support. But while I was there, surrounded by artists with competitive private schools, charter schools, and specialized performing arts programs, I realized something that shouldn't be surprising. Lovejoy still stood out. In a sea of schools designed specifically for this competition, Lovejoy was the only general public school that consistently showed up year after year with artists who were not only present, but competitive, confident, and outstanding. Wow. I mean, I'm unbelievably grateful to be part of the ongoing legacy. Of course, this isn't an accident, and so I'd like to quickly give thanks to a couple of the many things I've learned to do during my time here. One of the biggest is that Lovejoy taught me how to talk. Visual arts isn't just about making something, it's about showing up for your work, articulating your ideas, and connecting to your community with what you create. Lovejoy gave me the language and the confidence to do that. Another is how truly communal and collaborative Lovejoy is. Genuine, thoughtful critique is huge in the studio. It's that delightful doorway between art as an individualistic practice and a community of caring reciprocity that has become synonymous with trust for me. I'm here today because so many people have gone to great lengths to teach me not only how to be a better artist, but to be a better person. That's why I've succeeded. That's why we have succeeded. We have built people who can think and grow and contribute and care. I stand here as a product of that. I mean, just wow. Keshav. Come on, get up here. Get your certificate. Keshav, get your certificate.
Good evening. We have another student recognition for Lovejoy High School. Lovejoy High School was recently awarded the Platinum Achievement Level for the College Board AP Score Report for the class of 2025. This reflects an exceptional level of student participation and performance on our advanced placement exams, demonstrating a strong academic rigor and college readiness. The Platinum Award is the highest level of recognition in a top tier of 4 levels of platinum, platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. And to qualify for the platinum level, there are 3 areas that are considered. First, college participation culture is one area. At least 80% of graduates take 1 or more AP exams during their high school years. The second is college credit readiness, meaning that at least 50% of students score a 3 or higher on an AP exam, which qualifies them for college credit in many institutions. And then advanced engagement, meaning that at least 15% of graduates take 5 or more AP exams, demonstrating their ability to excel in multiple college-level subjects. So Lovejoy High School AP program meets and certainly exceeds these standards, and we'd like to congratulate them on this honor. And Mr. Wheeler, if you have anything you want to add with that?
No, I feel like we should have coordinated before because I actually just wrote notes and it's explaining what the criteria are. I do want to add and just highlight a couple things that are exceptional about this. So 85% of our students at Lovejoy High School have challenged themselves to take an AP course at some point through their college career, which is pretty astonishing. With that 80%, 67% of our students, our graduating class last year, got a 3 or higher on at least one of their AP exams, which is another remarkable achievement. And then the last category, 44% of our students took 5 or more AP exams. 44%, that is a remarkable number. So one of these alone is pretty remarkable. When you put that whole combination and you look at this, it is incredibly impressive, and it's a testament to the hard work of our students and our faculty, and we could not be more proud of all of them. So kudos to all of them.
Thank you very much. What a great way to start the meeting. Wonderful, wonderful news. All right, so we will move on to agenda item number 7, public comments. Ms. Taylor, do we have any public comments? Right. With no public comments submitted, we will proceed with our agenda. Agenda item number 8, Mr. Bobo, would you please lead our invocation?
Let's pray. Dear God, thank you so much for all these wonderful achievements that we've witnessed tonight. Thank you for the wonderful educators, students, and parents who helped make some of these achievements happen, but mostly our students who've really worked hard. We're so grateful for the opportunity to highlight these students. We thank you for all the wonderful support that they receive. We definitely recognize our Lovejoy Visual Arts. We thank them so much for the wonderful recognition they've given us tonight. Thank you for all that you do for our school district. Help us guide our decisions tonight. Help us have wisdom and thought and make sure that we're considering the students in all of our decisions. Amen.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9 is notifications. So board, your materials for the meeting tonight contain notifications of new hires, resignations, public information requests, and our cabinet reports. Are there any questions or comments? I actually did have a comment. I'd like to raise up just to thank you to our administration for the update that's included in the cabinet report on our bonds. At the November meeting, the board authorized refinancing of some of our bonds with the goal of lowering our interest rates. This transaction generated over $2.6 million in debt service savings to the district, which is excellent and shows care and stewardship for our tax dollars. So that was buried in the cabinet reports, and I wanted to raise it up and highlight it, so thank you. Agenda item number 10 is our consent agenda. So board, your materials for the meeting tonight contain consent agenda items, including prior meeting minutes, monthly finance report, et cetera. Board policy FNG local has a small proposed revision to bring it in alignment with our district of innovation plan that was previously approved by the board this past fall. And you'll see meeting minutes for the July 2025 meeting that are being resubmitted for approval, just a small wording change to ensure we have some required legal language related to our vote on the district's recapture payment to the state. Are there any questions on these items or an item that a trustee would like pulled for separate consideration?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye and raise hands. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item number 11, we have a celebration of learning presentation, spotlight the fantastic teaching and learning and other student services that are happening on our Lovejoy campuses. Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. For the month of January, we have the honor of spotlighting the Lovejoy ISD school counseling team. Lovejoy High School and Puster Elementary School counselors were recently awarded the prestigious CREST Award, which is Counselors Recognizing Excellence for Students in Texas. So the presentation will include information about the CREST and the process followed to achieve this prestigious award that recognizes excellence in our school counseling. So I'm going to introduce Mrs. Stephanie Krantz, who is Director of Student Support, who supports our counseling team K-12, and then she will be introducing the counselors that were recently awarded.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate the wonderful work of our counselors. I get the true opportunity to work with this amazing team of counselors who support a lot of work that we do on campuses. So I'm going to start off with the introductions of the counselors who I have here tonight who received the CREST Award. So we have Susan De La Rosa with Puster Elementary. And then from Lovejoy High School, we have Stacy Thomas, Natalie Coonrod, Curtis McCarthy, and Carrie Robbins. And I may ask a few of them to come up and join and give a little bit more of in-depth information about the application. So really, this has been, I don't want to say a culmination because we're still in the process. So this is just kind of us achieving a step in our journey. So this journey has really kind of, I think I took over counseling in 2021. And so we really try to align to Lovejoy 2030 and the strategic targets that we have embedded there. And this community really identified that it was important that we effectively prepare students for college and career opportunities, that we provide a world-class preparation program to allow all students to learn, grow, and prepare for the career, vocation, and/or education of their choosing, and that we provide those educational opportunities to develop the soft skills necessary for that. So not only do we align with 2030, we actually align with the Lovejoy ISD mission statement, which is to propel every person to personal excellence, and as a school counseling program, that our mission is to make sure that we propel students to personal excellence by equipping them with academic, emotional, social skills to unlock their full potential. We want that for each and every child. And so these are just some of the things that have guided our work along the way. The other component that we always have to consider has been the Texas Comprehensive School Counseling Model. This model is put out by the state of Texas, and it really outlines and frames the work that the state of Texas and that counselors need to be doing on campuses, and how they should be spending their time. And the state has gotten really detailed about that. We want 80% of their time directly spent on counseling duties. The other 20% can be spent on kind of that student support. So those are kind of some of our guiding foundations that we really started working on. And as we were working on that, Ms. Thomas actually joined our team, and she brought forth CREST and presented to our entire counseling team. The CREST Award, it's it's awarded by the Texas School Counseling Program, and it's really for student success, for promoting academic, career, and personal social growth, and it needs to be aligned to that Texas model. So it is a very specific award to counselors. And so it's kind of like the Super Bowl of the counseling world in the state of Texas. And it's a very in-depth process. You have to submit your application. It's a very lengthy process. So it serves as a tool for continuous improvement. I said we're not done yet, right? We're still on our journey. We're going to continue to use all of the tools that we have to reflect and see how we can continue to get better. Let's talk a little bit about the application process. So these are just kind of outline some of the things. It has to be aligned to the model. It's lagging. So what happens is this data is based on the 24-25 school year. So you basically prove what you've done, and you have to have evidence for that. It has to be specific to your campus. There are required artifacts. You have to have 9 artifacts within your application. So help me out if I'm doing anything. And you can also do a Google site or some more. And so you have a variety of ways that you can submit that application. So this is just going to go into the various sections. These are detailed. It's got, these are all the components that have to be in the application. I won't read them to you because you can read them for yourself, but just so you can see, it's a very lengthy process. What I would like to do is, I think, Lori, if we can keep popping through, if you don't mind. And there's Pester's Google site example. So Susan, do you want to say a couple words about your Pester application?
So hi, I am so excited to be here today amongst all of you and just to highlight the counselors and all the work that we do here in Lovejoy. This is my second year in Lovejoy, and like Ms. Cran said, that you have to be here more than 1 year to promote that counseling program. And so last year I collected all the data, I worked with the students, I made, not only with the staff but the community, I did all that. And then this year I was able to put all of the efforts into, I used a Google site just to share all the exciting things that Pester has going on. And I am just one lucky person to be at that role there on campus. But really, it is just like the championship here in football. You think of the school counseling role, the CREST Award is that. So really, you think about all the districts here just within Collin County, the small percentage of schools and counselors actually receive this award. So I am just so thankful to be able to put Lovejoy on the map along with the high school and be able to continue to promote all the amazing things that our counselors do.
This just kind of goes through the artifacts that have to be completed, and thank you for saying that. This is the first time that Lovejoy has been awarded the CREST Award, and so we are really proud of that because it's a lot. The application is just a representation of the hours that these individuals have poured in to the staff and the students and the parents in our community. And so for me, look, I'll get teary-eyed, it's just truly a representation of their dedication and commitment to the work that they know needs to be done to help kids succeed. So I'm so grateful for that. And then there's some more examples of Pester's application, and then I'm going to have Stacy pop up and talk a little bit about the high school.
So she already mentioned the Crest Award is a huge deal in the counseling world, and I will say it's kind of grown over the years. I did ask, we had 406 campuses that actually earned it this school year, and they said over 500 applied. So that just kind of gives you an idea. It's not something every counselor does, obviously. It is taking time kind of on your own time to create a document. I actually use a SMORE document. And the high school alone, I think it's 20-something pages if you were to print that, but that doesn't include all the links that are all throughout that. So it is something that we do on a daily basis. I came to the entire counseling team and I said, these are all things that we do. Why do we not, document this? I really wanted to get Lovejoy on the map, and I am super proud that that happened this year. We actually get to go in a few weeks, and there's a dinner for us, which is super exciting. They kind of recognize us. You get to walk across the stage and earn a little trophy, so it's exciting. But everything that's in there, truly, it's not just about the award. It's about the job that we do day in and day out, and I really felt like it was important to take time and document it. I'm so glad that we have 2 campuses, and hopefully we will have some more campuses moving forward, because it's something, like I said, it's something we're all doing. So, yeah.
So I'm not going to echo anything else. I'm so grateful to these individuals and to all of our counseling team, and everyone's kind of on their own pathway. So our hope is that we can get other campuses to complete those applications and continue down that journey, to really give them the recognition that they deserve for the hard work that they put in every day for our students. So thank you.
Thank you for the update. We are so proud to learn about this award. Congratulations, and so excited to recognize you publicly here in a board meeting for our community as well. So thank you very much. We will move on to agenda item number 12, which is a district program update, and we will do our tonight's update also on counseling services. So Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. We're glad we could lift up the work that we've been doing with our secondary school counseling team, and this involves the Willow Springs counseling team as well as the Lovejoy High School counseling team. So some of the work this started last year, that we came together with the 2 campuses and had the focus on secondary school counseling, but more with a focus on college and career planning. So we're going to lift up really quickly for you what that process, what we've done, and then also what our goals are at this time and what we are working on. So again, I'm going to begin. We started with the Texas Comprehensive School Counseling Model, which guides the work. And just to lift up, as Stephanie said earlier, the mission is to propel students to personal excellence by equipping them with academic, emotional, and social skills to unlock their full potential. This is a framework that we work on here in Lovejoy, and it aligns to the state model, the Texas School Counseling Model, with the 4 domains: individual planning, guidance instruction, responsive services, system support services. The objectives that we have for our secondary school counseling team is that we want to celebrate the work and the outcomes. We have done some work on review analysis of the competencies. If you will recall, in our district improvement plan, we do have goals for our secondary school counseling program and then some key action steps. So the focus that we have been working on is the individual planning component, and this is just a definition here of this, and then I'm going to allow Stephanie to talk a little bit about what the individual planning system does include.
So all of these components are found within the Texas model, and so this is going to be ideal state, kind of high level, but then we have to break that down into actions and what does it look like here in Lovejoy. So obviously, when we get down to individual planning, that is to the student level and each student, and where we want each student really to be able to set goals for themselves and start to look at their post-secondary plans, career goals, what things might match. We want them to learn about school and the world of work. And this just doesn't happen at the high school. So that's part of the work that we're doing, is trying to get that college and career focus happening down below in the K-12 level, so that when students get to the high school and they start talking about post-secondary planning, they have other thoughts in their head. It's not, they're not waiting. They start to understand what careers are out there, what's possible. So that is definitely part of the individual planning system. We are going to look at trade and apprenticeship. It is a culmination of all of those pieces of what we do. They bring together our CTE programs of study, making sure students have an understanding of that, graduation requirements, all of these pieces, and taking it down to the individual level. So what we did and what Lori spoke to is within this Texas school model, within individual planning, there are rubrics that we utilized, and there are competencies for each one of these rubrics. And so when we met as a secondary counseling team, we looked at these rubrics, we sat down and we were like, where were our strengths, where were our needs, we did a needs assessment basing our actions on that rubric. And then we assessed where we were at, and we came up with our own specific goals around the secondary counseling program. So you can see them. One is to implement and utilize the Zello platform that results in 80% or more usage by students in grades 6 through 12. So when we originally rolled out Zello, we moved from the Naviance platform, and Naviance was very much tied to the college application and transcript process. And so it's taken us a little bit of time. We first had to make that adjustment and get our students to know Zello and how it's used for college applications and transcripts. But now, this year, the high school has a comprehensive plan of Zello implementation with lessons at each grade level, as does Willow Springs, as does Sloan, and all the way down to our elementary schools. So everyone in K-12, a student is going to get some experience within Zello. And at the K-2 level, what it looks like is they're just learning community jobs. It's like a little town, and they have workers in there, and they start to learn what are the different workers in your community, just increasing their awareness. At Willow, they actually do a matchmaker and an interest survey, so we've got definitive activities outlined in Zello. So that is something that it will continue to be a work in progress, and we'll refine it, but we're really trying to get that K-12 movement on the college and career platform. So on the second one is students will identify career opportunities, making connections with academic planning and student goal setting. So there is student goal setting within Zello, and there are in Matchmaker, you can locate career clusters that you might have aptitudes for or interest for. So one of the outcome documents that we're looking for from the secondary counseling plan of work is we're going to do a crosswalk where we're looking at the career clusters within Zello and then tie those to our pathways and programs of study that we offer here in Lovejoy, so that students will have a way to see, okay, here's what's showing up in my Zello that I have a career, I'm falling in this career cluster. What CTE program of study pathway does Lovejoy have that I might look into that would line up with that, if that makes sense? So we want to help them make the connection between what our CTE programs of study are and what we're offering, and what Zello might be telling them is a good interest area for them or that they have the skills for. So that's one of the other outcomes. And then we want to develop a robust post-secondary planning communication platform. So we're in the midst of that. We just sent out our first college and career newsletter. And I know some parents were like, I've never gotten this before. It was the first. I do have copies of it for you guys. And so I'll bring those over to give you a paper copy so you can see what that looks like. So our goal is to do one of these every quarter. We'll also do one in the summer to kind of prep families for the kinds of activities around college and career that they should be thinking about. in the summer. And then the other part of this communication platform is we are in the midst of a website revamp, where we are looking completely at the Lovejoy High School counseling and college and career, updating our resources, adding resources to the website. It's all unpublished right now. I mean, there are some active pages that we will keep active and connect, but we're on the backside creating pages and doing things. So our hope is to shortly have that released and have a new website with a lot more resources and clarity and things that are a little bit more easier to find for our families so that they can find some answers out there as well. So that is in the works. And then the last one is ensure that 100% of our secondary students receive individualized guidance in selected courses that align with their academic goals, academic needs, interests, and post-secondary plans by the end of the spring semester. So, and this is, it's all with an emphasis on supporting informed decisions. So giving students and parents information to make informed decisions about their course selection, how it might line up to their post-secondary planning. If you've gotten experience, our counselors are pushing in and doing classroom visits. Our freshmen are in the midst. Freshman one-on-one meetings start tomorrow, and that's an opportunity for every freshman and their parent to sit down with their counselor at Lovejoy High School and look at where they are in their program and determine their pathway. And then we also do that individual one-on-one meeting with students and parents at the junior level. It's pretty unheard of to have that level of meetings with parents and that one-on-one at public schools. I've had a lot of parents tell me I can't even get a single meeting with a counselor sometimes in some of the other districts. So we're trying to be very intentional about where we're placing those so that our parents and our students feel like they're getting information on the front side and we're planning and following up. We want all of our students, of course, to cross the stage with a diploma, but more importantly, we want them all to cross the stage with a diploma and a plan, and having opportunities ahead of them that they can choose. So that's really important. I think that's it. Lori, did you have anything else to add?
No, this has been a team approach. Our campus principals have been involved, Dr. Zambezi, Stephanie has been involved in the process as well too. So we're very proud of the progress that we're making, and we're really excited about our website, our new website that we do believe is going to be a much user-friendly tool for our families. So we'll bring that forward once it's completed. So thank you.
Thank you for the update. We have any questions? I had a few. So Ms. Kranz, what's our student to counselor ratio at the secondary level approximately?
So it does vary. So at Willow, we have 2 counselors over there. So they're probably about 375 to 1 on the counselor, which really does fall within ASCUS ratios. We're pretty solid on that. At the high school, we've got 5 counselors, and our numbers at the high school, we're at around, so it's less than 400 per counselor at the high school. So in looking at those ASCA ratios, and also the Texas model will have some recommended ratios. So does that help you?
And part of the reason why we do programmatic reviews is so that we really understand kind of the revenue and expense side of our programs. This one's a little more challenging, but I just, since we're talking about legislative priorities later in the agenda, I just wanted to confirm that our counselors play such an important role, so many essential services, but we are not receiving a separate revenue allotment for these required services. Is that correct? That is correct. So all of the expenses for the program come out of our basic instructional allotment? All right. Last question. I know that we did a survey of parents on the counseling program. Could you speak just a little bit to how some of that feedback was incorporated into the plan?
Sure. So we did have parents that talked about specifically about the website and how it wasn't very user friendly, that it was difficult to kind of find some information. So that's part of the reason why we definitely were focusing on the website and that communication platform. It's also why we went with the newsletter that's specific to college and career, because I think what happens, some of the feedback that parents said is they don't know where to find the information. Often it's embedded in the principal's newsletters. So helping them know where to go to find the information is really going to be key. So we think the newsletters and on that continual basis, and then the changes in the website will address that. We also, some of the feedback was just around the college planning, the college application process, and support of that. So I know the high school counselors have brought in we've done a few more parent education sessions around the college application process. We're doing student support sessions with Zello. Typically, like they are doing their grade level things, but when it comes to seniors and applying, they have, I'm trying to think of how many sessions that they also added. They're doing 3 to 4 sessions specific to seniors who are getting involved in that college application process and walking them through the steps that it takes. So those are some of the adjustments we've looked at and made. So really, does that answer your question? Okay.
I just appreciate understanding more how Zello is being implemented at the younger grades too. I have a 6th grader, so if I wanted to know more, are there going to be parent information sessions maybe geared towards how Zello is supposed to kind of launch them to secondary, or how would I learn more about that?
We can definitely look at that. We've done some Zello parent education sessions in the past. We can look at doing it by grade level, but there is also a Zello page on the district website, and it will walk you through. There's short videos and some snippets on exactly what Zello is. And I would also say if you are not linked, so one of the reasons why we love Zello is the parents have transparency and access to see their students' work. And so you should be able to get linked to your child in Zello. And if you're having trouble with that, you can talk to your campus counselor. You can always email me and I will help you get connected to Zello, because it's important that parents are able to see like what career maybe your child has favorited, or what are their skills or interests or likes. The other thing is, as a parent who just had a child graduate and is in a freshman at Belmont this year, having the opportunity to use Zello to explore the colleges that are out there, it is, instead of having to go to every individual college site within that platform, you can look at all of those colleges and you can see all of their entrance requirements. You can see their population. It has a little map of the campus. You can even drop yourself on the map and take a little Google tour and see actual spots on the college. So it's a really comprehensive program. We'll definitely look at adding some parent education sessions. We've done those in the past. We can add those back in. But I would say if a parent is not linked and doesn't have access, talk to your campus counselor, email me, and I will get you linked so you can start to check it out for yourself and see the power of it. Absolutely.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 13, which is our second budget workshop. We're planning ahead for the 26-27 school year. Mr. Woolman.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Cordell. So tonight for budget workshop number 2, we're going to provide an enrollment update. So we're going to kind of go through and share kind of the importance of enrollment and attendance as it relates to the budget process, but then also provide an update on the demographic report that was provided by our demographer last week. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and talk about what our budget process and next steps will be from there. So when we think about enrollment, enrollment is our primary driver for state funding through our average daily attendance. So you can see here that our funding through ADA makes up roughly 91% of our overall revenue net of recapture. So even in a property wealthy district like ours, we do rely on enrollment to maximize our Tier 1 funding. And even though that the tax base continues to grow here at Lovejoy, we don't necessarily see all of the tax collections from that because it's driven based off of enrollment. So as I mentioned about the Tier 1, so the state funding is broken down into two specific tiers of funding. The first one is Tier 1 and the second one is Tier 2. They're both tied to enrollment and average daily attendance. The main difference is that on the Tier 2, it's also dependent upon tax effort for the different enrichment pennies for that. So when we think about the breakout of Tier 1 and Tier 2, Tier 1 makes up 76% of our overall funding related to enrollment. So when we think about also some of the other things in the school finance, most of the funding is variable cost or variable. But when we look at our cost, some of it is fixed. So as enrollment declines or as attendance decline, we're not able to make expense adjustments. So those expense adjustments are on a little bit of a lag compared to kind of the revenue loss, which is more immediate. So the declining enrollment trend is not necessarily isolated to Lovejoy ISD. So the demographer provided us this map of DFW. What you can see is that the enrollment growth it continues to migrate kind of north and northeast, where you can see in the kind of central DFW areas, it's increasingly declining or kind of remaining flat. But this is also a trend that you can see across the state of Texas. So this is a 3-year kind of enrollment growth going back from 2021 to the 24-25 school year. So additionally, as we're thinking about enrollment, not only does the demographic report an important component, but also monitoring some of the key legislative variables. So when we look at the school funding program, as you know, we received a minimal increase of the basic allotment, which is a variable cost, but saw some special purpose fixed funding. But then also we're monitoring the overhaul of the special education funding. We did receive recently an email from TEA. They sent out a survey to our special education department asking some questions around the special education and the development of the funding model. That survey is due the first week of February, which tells me that that's just going to be a delay on the funding and how special ed funding is going to work. So that's going to, we'll be going through this budget process without having full visibility on what that could look like. The hope would be that hopefully by end of February we'll have something, but keep my fingers crossed on that one. Another component is that we don't really have much visibility in this demographic report, but we're keeping a close eye on with the funding shifts to the ESA and voucher program, how that could potentially impact Lovejoy ISD. And then also just keeping a close eye on continued tax and property revenue constraints. So since enrollment is a major driver for funding, the district does engage with SDS as its demographer annually to provide an updated enrollment projection. So these projections will set the stage for our budget development and provide insight to the available resources to support our programs. So you may recall that this time last year, our demographer came and presented to the board his enrollment projections based off historical data before the current school year. You can see here he provides us with 3 different scenarios, a low, moderate, and high. We use the low scenario to drive our budget process. And you can see here he continues to show in the low scenario a decline in enrollment. From the current year, he projected a 3820. And then in next school year, he's projecting a 3666 enrollment. So with that being said, when we look at his current projection, when we look at our current year enrollment, you can see that we're slightly beating that mark by about 28 students. But then when you look at his low scenario, it's very minimal change, going down 1 for next school year. And then the major change in differential is in the 29-30 school year, whereas at 29 less. Where we saw the significant changes in his projections, he was a little bit more conservative on the moderate and high scenarios, which we don't leverage for our budgeting process. We really focused on the low. So his projections did not change much year over year for the future enrollment. So when we think about looking here just at historical enrollment for Lovejoy, you can see enrollment peaked in the fall of 2019, but we've seen a net decline since 2020 to 2025 of roughly 8.5%. And then since the fall of 2021, that's about an annual decline of about 3%. So when we look at the historical data here, grade level detail, we can see that there's significant gaps between elementary and secondary cohorts. So when we look at the average grade size from 10th through 12th and compare that to the kindergarten through second grade size, you can see that it nearly doubles. So that structural decline is expected as smaller cohorts are moving forward. So as we see graduating seniors that are significantly higher than our kindergarten, our incoming kindergarten class.
Quick question, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
For our total enrollments, 3848, but that includes probably, what, 275 scholars?
That's correct, it does.
So
This will include scholars, employees.
But the enrollment, the demographer's enrollment projection wouldn't include any scholars. So they are off more than what the report shows.
No, he does include that we're, based off of historical trends on scholars as well. So. And I just mentioned that this is total enrollment, which is different from average daily attendance. So we start with enrollment, and then we'll look at attendance rates historically, and I'll get there as far as next steps when looking at some of the additional data. Thank you, Anna. So just some factors that contribute to the projection. Nothing much has changed as far as what he presented this time last year. So some major factors are when we look at Lovejoy, he remains kind of a luxury custom home market. You can see here that the average resale price comparison in Lovejoy in that bottom right-hand corner is close to $1 million, whereas the rest of DFW is hovering around $400,000. Some other information as far as continued aging in place and kind of the slower birth rates are factored in to his enrollment projections. With all that being said, also, Lovejoy still remains a destination district. When we compare the student yields to area districts, we still exceed the student yield, but you can kind of see even on the average student year across all existing homes and new constructions, you kind of see that decline, which also then speaks to the aging in place. But then when you also look at the new constructions, the decline from 22-23, just seeing the average sales price for a new construction during that time compared to what the average sales price is now. So with all that being said, as far as next steps and what we're looking at, so when we look at that potential decline from current year to next year of roughly 180 students, we're calculating roughly approximately about a $2 million revenue drop year over year due to that decline. Using current attendance rates of the 96.5%. So our next steps, what we're going to do is we're going to take that demographer's report and we're going to update our multi-year financial model. And then in the February workshop, we're going to do a review of the multi-year financial model. So we're going to incorporate the demographic projections. We're also going to do a deep dive into our Lovejoy scholars. We're going to show over time the growth of the program and then the financial implications of the Lovejoy scholars, but then also looking at our attendance, where we're at currently with attendance and kind of that historical trend on attendance rates. And then during that conversation and during the workshop, we're going to show some of the expenses based off of what we know right now, but then also some things that administratively we're going to incorporate that we know will be potential cost savings going into the future, into perpetuity, but then also some administrative assumptions into the financial model. But then also have a conversation discussions with the board on what are some of the financial guardrails and expectations as we move on based off of that information that we're going to provide. And then we're going to revisit that financial framework that we presented in the December meeting to kind of guide that conversation into the regular board meeting, which will then quantify some of those financial levers and review those different financial levers and have some continued budget conversations around that. And then in the March meeting, we'd like to go ahead and continue to review the M&O budget and continue to have conversations on that, but then also introduce the student nutrition budget and also the debt service budget as part of the conversation. We have a tentative budget completion of May 18th. We do realize that we do have until June to adopt the budget. Legally, we have to have it done by June 30th. So the latest would be the June regular board meeting. If through these conversations we realize that we need more time, more information, we can definitely extend that to the June meeting. But tentatively, we have it listed for the May 18th. So happy to answer any questions.
Thomas wants to get done by May.
I bet we'll have
It's
more
a
demand, though.
non-legislative session, so I was hoping to.
I think we can't rely as much anymore on demographers' reports, because basically it's Texas's open districts now with open enrollment, and I would think with it, more people being aware of that now, our scholars program will have a bigger demand. So I think I'd hate to cut too much without knowing what all the demand is, and we should know, of course, by May, how much demand we have on that side.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good point, which is why I think Thomas mentioned that we were going to dive a little bit more into the Lovejoy Scholars Program with our next budget workshop, just because that is a lever in front of us as a board, right?
Absolutely.
Question I had is I think I've got two different numbers for the 25-26 school year. I think we budgeted enrollment at 3,772, but then we had an adjustment. We had a budget adjustment.
Yeah,
So as you think about your multi-year model, it might be helpful to kind of anchor to what was budget versus what we're operating
Yeah,
from
no,
now.
absolutely. So when we think about the demographer's report, it's a snapshot in time. It's based off a snapshot date in October. So when we think about our budget, it's average enrollment throughout the year. So when we develop the budget, we're looking at our average enrollment. So like we have seniors that graduate and leave in December. That impacts our enrollment throughout the year. We have fluctuation in students leaving throughout the year. So we look at the budget from an average enrollment throughout the year. Additionally, when we look at the budget and we can add an additional line. So when it comes to pre-K students, pre-K 4, we have allowed state funding, and then we have parent pay. So the differential you'll see sometimes is that the parent pay, we don't factor into that budgeted state enrollment. So the discrepancies in the pre-K 4 enrollment as well. So I'll add that as clarification of state revenue generated enrollment versus parent pay pre-K 4 enrollment.
Appreciate once again the timing. Just to kind of piggyback on what Mark was saying, we know that financial sustainability for our district continues to be a critical conversation that we need to have, and the legislative environment and making sure that we understand what that funding does. And so I appreciate the extra care that is going into making sure that we are kicking off the budget with exactly the right kind of point of view on enrollment, since it is such a primary driver of our funding.
Right.
So thank you again. Look forward to additional conversations on budget.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, the next two agenda items are related to our bond program and facility planning. Agenda item 14, consider an act on the use of 2025 bond issuance for capital expenditures in an amount to exceed $75,000. Mr. Person.
Good evening, Board. While I pull up the presentation, would anybody like to talk about the weather forecast? No? Let's jump into two-way radios. So just to give a little background, I believe in 2021, the district purchased two-way radio system that was deployed for our campus administrators, district administrators, school marshals. Fast forward to 2026, and we now have an opportunity as part of the 2025 bond issuance to do a modernization of that program. And what that will do is help integrate. So let me back up. It will actually bring our equipment up to standard. It will give us the ability to integrate not only campus to district, campus to campus, but also integrate with our transportation services and buses, as well as our first responders here in the area. And so I'm gonna jump into that. This first slide you see there, these will be our administrator, both at the campus and district level, two-way handheld radios. These radios will be part of a 3-repeater trunked system that will be deployed throughout the district, so that if we did have power failure or network failure in any part of the district, they can ping off of another tower that will give us that operability and range that we wouldn't have with just a standalone talk-around radio. One thing this would add to, currently if you go out to one of our campuses, you can pick any of them, you're going to see kind of a mixed bag of handheld radios. I refer to them as the Radio Shack radios. Many people look at me like they have no idea what I'm talking about. Most of those are a little bit younger than I am. But those are nice and handy to give some talk around capabilities to maybe a teacher that's out on the playground, and maybe one of her teacher partners is inside with students in the cafeteria. But they don't integrate with administrator radios. They don't integrate with central office. They won't integrate with the school marshal or the nurse. And so as part of this plan, each campus will have a set of handheld Motorola's deployed that will be programmed to speak to both the marshals, first responders, and or campus and district administrators. And so that way we can replace the one-off Amazon or the Radio Shack radios with something that's going to be substantially more powerful and reliable. This next set here that you see, so this proposal will have 30 complete replacement bus radios for our bus fleet. Currently, they operate on their own channel, their own programming. We do not have the capability right now to communicate with a bus via handheld radio. So this will expand that capability across our entire bus fleet. And so that's going to give us that ability to talk about maybe weather. If we've got incoming weather, or if we have a situation where we're on a field trip, it'll just increase that and expand that capability. These little devices, we'll have 6 of those within the plan proposal. These are actually a cell-based radio that would be deployed out if we have transportation that's going to leave our area. So let's say we've got a group that's going down to San Antonio. This would talk to that group via cell base in San Antonio and would integrate back to our dispatch and transportation. The buses are going to have a signal in between each other, but these would give us that ability to communicate once they leave our Metroplex area. And then the last component, this is the trunked repeater system that I mentioned. This is all, they kind of talk to each other, and like I said, it just offers that redundancy. If in the worst case scenario, we have power failure, we have internet failure, the handheld radios that are part of this proposal still have a 2 to 4 mile range just by themselves, depending on environment and weather. This will give them the ability to go out to about 30 miles. And so these repeaters will really be part of the infrastructure that's going to help us take that next step moving forward. The last portion that I wanted to mention that you don't see in here is once we have this completely built out, then we'll have an engineer that will come back out and they'll tell us exactly what we need to do by way of equipment to fully integrate with local dispatch. And so I'll come back and bring that information to you. I don't know what that's going to look like until we get up in full deployment. But everything that we've put together in the proposal is all program ready to make that switch. Any questions that I can answer?
That was my question. So the hardware, software is included to be able to communicate.
So everything, the hardware and the software in the radio system and in the repeaters is fully capable. There's one component that will still have to be designed and I'll have to bring back. Once we're fully operable, they'll have to come out and do some testing to see exactly what that's going to look like. But all the equipment that you saw in the proposal has the capability and has been designed specifically for that. And there'll be an additional cost. It won't. I don't anticipate that it's going to meet to the threshold that we'll need to bring it back in front of the board. But we'll be sure to keep you guys updated as we get to that point. Please don't.
So the integration, the current system we have at the administrator level does or does not have that ability?
It does not currently. This proposal will bring us to the point where all equipment district-wide will have that capability.
It would be nice to communicate with the bus drivers because half the time you're driving around Lucas, they don't have cell signal.
It's very spotty, so this will completely eliminate that. Any other questions?
All right. Hearing no questions, board, if you'll please note the recommended motion language that's in your board book, and I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the bond, no, is that right? The bond-funded capital expenditures as presented in the total amount not to exceed $180,000 of bond funds.
Right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please both say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, we will do agenda item 15, which is to consider an act on recommended construction manager at risk delivery method for the 2025 multiple project package. Mr. Wellman.
See that the presentation. All right, so just wanted to go over and review the RFP timeline. So back in mid-November, we advertised the RFP for the construction manager at risk. So we met all the required advertising posting. And then we issued the bid in Ion Wave on Monday, December 1st, and then the bid closed on Friday, December 12th. And then on Monday, December 15th, we had a public opening and reading of the proposed proposal amounts from the different firms that showed up and submitted their bids. Then from December 16th until mid-January, did the evaluation process. And then we're here tonight to review that evaluation process. So we did have 7 firms that completely submitted their proposals. The district did have 6 evaluators. Those 6 evaluators looked at the different criteria that was listed in the RFP, looking at experience, Lovejoy ISD's district needs, the cost, and then some miscellaneous factors as far as reference checks, litigation history, and record of completion of projects of on time. So when we looked at and did the evaluation and looked at the criteria, the firm that was selected through the process and that we're bringing forward, some things that stood out was their experience in the DFW area, especially with school districts, not only with new constructions, but also kind of the comprehensive renovation that we're looking at with Hart and the high school. But then also additionally, them having the capability and the staff to meet Lovejoy ISD's schedule objectives and needs and goals. But then also they were very competitive when it comes to the cost for their services. So at this time, administration is a recommendation that the Lovejoy ISD board award the construction manager at risk services to Balfour Beatty Construction and delegate authority to the superintendent or designee to negotiate, finalize, and execute an agreement between the district and Balfour Beatty.
Board, any questions? does not appear like that we have any questions. So board, I will have you note the recommended motion language that is in your board book. And I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve and take action regarding the delegation of authority to the superintendent to designate and negotiate, finalize, and execute an agreement between the district and Valcourt Beatty Construction for the multiple projects program. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional conversation? All right, all those in favor, please both say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 16. At this time, I will open a public hearing on the 2024-2025 Texas Academic Performance Report. Ms. Taylor, are there any public comments for our public hearing? No. Thank you. We will proceed with the presentation portion on the TAPER report. Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. The Texas Academic Performance Reports, better known as the TAPER, pulls together a wide range of information on the performance of students in each school and district in Texas every year. Performance is shown disaggregated by student groups, including ethnicity and socioeconomic status. These reports also provide extensive information on school and district staff, programs, and student demographics. The 2024-25 TAPER reports are available for the state in every public school, district, or region of Texas. So the Board of Trustees is required to hold a public hearing within 90 days once the TAPER is released. It is based on the Texas Education Code 39.053, and then to hold a public meeting. So what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to review just the, we have posted these on our district website. They will also be shared on campus website. So what is there, you have access to the district report. This was shared with us early in the year, just to bring this forward. This is our accountability ratings that were released back in September, but this just shows you where we were with 24 and 25. The district maintained an overall A rating. So there is a district report. There's also Lovejoy High School report. Again, I'm just lifting up the comparisons from 24 to 25. Lovejoy High School maintained an overall A rating. Willow Springs Middle School is also posted. Again, they maintained the overall A rating between the 2 years here. And Sloan Creek, the same. The A rating with a scale score of 91 in 24 and a overall scale score of 93 in 25. And then Hart Elementary also maintained an A rating. All of this information goes into more detail on your TAPER reports. But I just think this is a good visual to understand how our schools are performing, and then Pester Elementary as well. So I would welcome any questions that you may have about the TAPER reports that I may answer.
Is there anything in the reports that you found concerning or we need to work on?
No, it was really what we have information to, the data that we have information to, we have it really prior that we can pull that information. This is more of a cumulative report that the state does pull together. So there are platforms that we're able to access that information. And we share that with you throughout the school year. An example is our AP information that was shared tonight on our Platinum information. So some of that is delayed, especially with the CCMR, because you'll see 24, you won't see 25. But overall, there were no surprises.
And it looks like from the slides presented that only student achievement and closing the gaps are a proportion of the overall rating. It looks like those other figures aren't included in the overall rating.
Well, it depends on, I'm going to use Pester Elementary, so I'm going to go back to this one. So it takes the higher of the two. So student achievement counts for every campus. So student achievement score, and our schools do very well in the overall student achievement piece on STAR. The school progress, you take the higher of the two, either the academic growth or the relative performance, which is your eco disadvantage. And the eco disadvantage is compared to like campuses. So every campus has, the state identifies like campuses, and they're going to look different for each campus. So that's in comparison to those like campuses. So they would probably have very similar percentages of eco-disadvantage, so they're looking at the relative performance of that subgroup. That's definitely a group that you'll see on these report cards that we've got some work to do as well. But that did not, as you'll see the check mark there on that column where it says proportion of overall rating, that's not something that's included in the overall score.
No.
But the TAPER reports also includes, it's not your student achievement information. It includes your enrollment information, your attendance, your CCMR. It breaks down teachers, years of experience. So it's a very comprehensive report that is provided for our communities.
Yeah, I would just reiterate what you said. This is a legal requirement, and I appreciate the transparency, but I know we've seen this data before, and we're identifying the gaps, and we've seen how the work is going forward. So just thank you for lifting it up again, and we are assured that you're doing the work to get us to where we want to be.
Are there any additional public comments? With no further questions from the trustees and no additional public comments, I will now close the public hearing on the Texas Academic Performance Report. Item 19 is a progress update on our 2025-26 District Improvement Plan goals. Dr. Tinsley.
The district and campus improvement plans were approved during the October board meeting, and we always provide a formative review for you as a school board, how the progress that we're making on these goals. And so this is our formative review, and what I've done is that I've lifted up the 5 goals. I haven't listed everything that I just wanted to lift some of the high points of each one, and other cabinet members can weigh in on this as well too, but Goal 1 is having to do with safety, as you can see there that, and again, a lot of this has been brought to you as a school board in the public meetings. We've gone through our safe and supportive schools training processes with our teams. We also, the work that, and Mr. Percival shared this with you, the relationships that we have with state and local law enforcement and first responders. We are effective with the effectiveness of our emergency drills and management preparation. We've applied a new robust silent panic alert technology system, which is the lanyards, and each of you have one of those. That is now in place in all of our district facilities. And we have also completed the CRAZE training, which is a basic level of understanding how to respond during an active threat situation. If you have any questions about safety, I'll be glad to answer those, but I'm sure Mr. Percival can answer more directly than I can, since that's his area of oversight. All right. Also with school safety, we put in place the anonymous reporting that we have. We've had that for several years here in Lovejoy, but we have some systems that we, as administrators, campus and district level, that we're able to monitor that. These are anonymous reporting that we also have in place. We've done some work on bullying prevention and training with our staff. And using some of the lessons from this Texas School Safety Center. And as I mentioned, the monitoring tools that we have in place are lifted there too, and that's part of our safe and supportive schools trainings. We've also done some pretty intensive work with our campuses prior to the winter break, that we did some during one of our professional development days, that as campuses we did do some analysis of our what was going on our each campus, because there's unique needs on each campus. And then Dr. Zambezi and Mrs. Krantz are also following up with individual campuses actually this week and last week to provide support for our campuses in the areas that they've identified, some areas they'd like to grow in.
One thing I learned from these slides was the threats are no joke lesson. I thought that was very interesting. I didn't know that existed. I'm glad we're kind of going there.
Right. And you can go, the Texas School Safety Center has a robust resource center for our campuses and our districts. So we've been accessing those. And again, some campuses may need that, others may not. We try to customize it based on some trends that they're seeing on the campuses with students. Okay, I'm going to move to goal 2, which is people, and this involves Mrs. Koenig. We have had multiple opportunities for our staff to provide input and collaboration. We listed some areas there with our staff survey. We do go out and conduct grade and department level meetings with our cabinet members. We conduct team huddles, which the entire cabinet goes out to our campuses and meets with the team to provide updates, allow them to provide feedback. We've reinitiated our Lovejoy 2030 committee that will be coming together this week. Listening circles have occurred, and then also our Teacher Superintendent Council is another pathway that we can have our staff provide input, and we work with collaboration. Professional development is ongoing here in our district. We've really honed in on some special education and gifted and talented. We provided some additional days prior to school starting for staff to come in to provide more specialized training. We've done a significant work on our curriculum resource system, our unit planning guides that I've shared with you several times with our staff, and we are continuing to do that and personalize that for our staff with the C&I team going out and working with individual teams as they need support. And then we've also done some content and department-specific work. STEM education is one of those areas that we've been using our STEM coordinator to go out and enhance some of that work with our teachers as well. One of the areas that we've identified is the employee retention strategies, and we do know as leaders on our campus and leaders in the district, a lot of that falls on us to help support that retention. So Mrs. Kanan and her team have led training with our campus leaders on that. And will continue as we move through the school year. And then also there has been some customized training for our non-instructional staff throughout the school year. I know we have some customer service training coming up in the next several weeks for some of our front office staff that will be provided. And we are using our teacher planning days for that as well. Any questions about people? Goal 2.
Can you talk a little bit about how we are using the feedback from the latest survey in those collaboration and input loops?
Absolutely. We're gonna see some of that. Actually, that's part of Lovejoy 2030. We're gonna be using some of that data for future planning. That is also what we've done we've taken some of that feedback, and for some of the specific teams and grade levels, we've gone out and we've got some meetings scheduled that some of us are gonna go out and sit down and do some problem solving with some of our teams. An example of feedback is streamlining how we're progress monitoring and how we're gathering that data, and then also with lesson planning. So we have some things in the works that we are piloting this year to streamline lesson planning and some platforms that we are using. So we actually met with the team week before last that we've got some other grade levels piloting it, and this team wants to pilot it as well too. So just trying to personalize that, so knowing that we're available and we're accessible to receive that feedback and respond. Okay, learning. This has happened to do with our academic excellence and prioritizing instruction and monitoring student outcomes and continuous improvement. As I mentioned, we are piloting right now a new lesson plan format called Beacon, with the goal to fully implement in the 26-27 school year. I'll just speak briefly what Beacon does provide for us that we do not have right now. We have a program called Forethought. Forethought's been around, I think, whenever I was teaching, so that tells you it's been a long time. It's not real user-friendly. Our teachers do collaborate, so they use the Google Drive and Google Classroom to do that. So this kind of takes that whole piece of collaboration where it's built into this platform, but it also, we can upload our instructional resources to where it can easily pull lessons over without teachers having to retype that. So there's just some features with that we believe will be beneficial. We currently have some secondary teams using it at the high school. I think we have one middle school team, and so they know they're in the pilot. We're working with Region 10, so we meet monthly with the Region 10 staff, provide our feedback, what we're hearing from our teachers, and many times we'll see that correction or improvements or enhancements made through the feedback. So they really are listening to teachers on this. We wanted to roll it out this year, but they really wanted us to stick with a pilot group with it. So we're looking forward to next year. You've heard me talk about learning walks, being in classrooms, supporting teachers, our district benchmark assessments. We initially had those where they were just twice a year. We made the decision, particularly in some of our areas that we had some needed improvement, that we are doing those at the end of each quarter. So we've increased the frequency of those, and it is providing us and teachers some good data so that they can respond in a timely manner. The STEM program guide has been revised, and we are in the process right now of operationalizing it. We've got some exciting plans ahead that I'll be sharing in a future meeting with you. You're well aware of the Baylor University partnership that we're engaging in with enhancing our gifted and talented programming. Also, we are, the district and our high school team, we meet regularly to track and respond to our achievement and our CCMR indicators. So that's a complex system. So we have some new tools in place that our high school counselors, our high school principal, myself, and leadership team and CNI are supporting the campus. We are going to, for the first time, we will be conducting a reality fair sponsored by My Community Credit Union, which is our partner at Lovejoy High School, that is scheduled to be conducted this month over at Willow Springs Middle School. So we're excited about that, and all of our students will be engaging in that reality fair. And then you can see some information there on our ADA. And Dr. Zambezi, what were the percentages you reported today on our ADA that?
So ended last year at 96%, then we were around 96.8 on a January 14th snapshot in 2026.
So we're regularly monitoring that, and we have, each campus has incentives in place to help support the attendance.
And 1% of ADA is equivalent to how much funding, Thomas? $330,000.
Okay. Go
So
forward.
thank you, community and
Yes.
staff and everyone
Right.
who's doing that. We really do appreciate it.
Yes, yes. Go for Culture of Progress. As I mentioned, the Lovejoy 2030 Committee will be reconvening this month. We're excited about the work and the future initiatives and planning that will go in place with this work. We've completed a comprehensive technology review. We will be coming to you to provide the results of that review. And we are also going to be putting in place a classroom device technology cohort that will involve our teachers as we begin planning on what our model will be for our devices in our classrooms. So we're very excited about that. Bond Implementation Committee was created. The first meeting was in November. We're having follow-up meetings next month and also in April. This is an exciting time for our district. And then we've also, the unified communication tool that we have in place to streamline that process, which is the Thrill Share and the in-rooms. So we are continuing to help support our teachers on that as well. We've gotten great feedback from parents on that new system. And then finally, parent engagement. We do look for opportunities for our parents and community members to participate in our schools and collaborate with us. And some examples of that are our School Health Advisory Council, our newly formed School Library Advisory Council, our District Improvement Committee, and Lovejoy 2030 Strategic Planning Committee are a few to lift up. Engagement and opportunities, we mentioned listening circles, strategic planning, those committees I mentioned, a parent survey, and then our campus and district improvement teams and our bond committee. We had our inaugural Lovejoy ISD homecoming parade at Heritage Ranch last fall. It was very exciting and well attended and wonderful for this community. Parent education session on online safety was offered in November. And then we also have brought in some additional parent education sessions for GT. We did one back before the holiday, and then we're bringing one next month that's actually for, it's centered on GT parents on preparing their GT student for college. So we're trying to customize that based on some of the feedback we're hearing from our community. And then we continue to do some work with partnerships with STEM-related professions. So that is the work that we're very excited that Cole Hawkins, our STEM coordinator, has done a tremendous job about seeking that out and bringing some new exciting things to our district. So.
Probably a record number of parent engagement opportunities that we've had this
Yes,
year, probably.
absolutely, absolutely.
So thank you for the update. I just wanted to lift up again, this is such important work, the intentionality behind thinking about things on a multi-year strategic basis and breaking that down into measurable plans that we are then monitoring. And I think this presentation shows, the meaningful progress that we've made on all of the areas that were lifted up by both the board and the community and the administration that were necessary. All right, with that, I'm going to move us along. Thank you, Dr. Tinsley. Agenda item number 20 is our board legislative update. As our Lovejoy community is already well aware, the decisions and lawmaking in Austin directly shapes the environments that our schools operate in with every day, from funding to curriculum to policy and more. As a board, we have come to view legislative advocacy as increasingly critical, especially as more and more decisions about what happens in our classrooms and on our campuses are transferring away from local control to the state level. With this in mind, the board has formed a legislative subcommittee to focus on this important effort. The next Texas legislative session will begin in January 2027, so while that is still a year away, much of the planning and groundwork for effective advocacy begins now. This evening, the board will be brainstorming potential legislative priorities that we can use to communicate our needs as a district to our elected officials. So I'll turn the mic over to our legislative subcommittee to lead the conversation.
Thank you, Julie. So we had the opportunity during our last Team of 8 training to talk about our advocacy plan, which is it's part of our updated policies and procedures as a board, and part of that plan was really coming together as a team of 8 and thinking about how we want to approach that. Developing these priorities each year is a big part of that, but another part is also organizing our calendar and how and when we're going to accomplish these goals. I think we did a good job of vetting that out, and we have now a good working document to help continue to guide this progress. Tonight, as we kind of take a look at our legislative priorities, I've spent some time reviewing the last few years of what those look like. I think we've done a good job of kind of narrowing the scope and crafting those. I would like to open it up to everybody here just for a few minutes at least to, I guess, give me some guidance as the chair of this committee. We are scheduled to meet as a committee again in February, and prior to our next formal meeting, I'd like to be able to bring back a draft at our next workshop based on the ideas and feedback we get tonight, and then hopefully be able to approve our newest version of these priorities that will then guide our conversations that we continue to have with our community and other organizations here within the district, and also our other elected representatives. Those conversations are ongoing. We are continuing to meet with our local representatives and others that we think might be able to help us in these areas. And just as I guess a starting point in this conversation when it comes to the priorities, I'm really focused on, if and where applicable, to narrow these even further to really focus on the priorities that we think can move the needle in a positive direction for anything that can positively impact us here in Lovejoy and have likelihood of gaining traction in Austin as these decisions are made. Because a lot of the legislation is crafted now prior to the session that starts a year from now. So I'll open it up to the rest of the board for any comments or feedback or anything that can help us in guiding as we update these priorities.
I like the idea that we're narrowing our scope down to some very specific things that can help us, because it very much appears that the legislature's appetite for just general funding increases seems to be waning. I'm not expecting them to maybe not even touch the basic allotment next session. And so the more we can define, especially in the area of unfunded mandates that have really had a big impact on our budget, I think that's where we can kind of focus some of our efforts. And I think some of that's already in these legislative priorities.
So the two areas I'd reiterate, just I think redundantly, are safety and security, focusing on funding opportunities, best-in-class modeling of programs, and how that may be supported financially based on what those best-in-class programs look like and what they demand and require to be executed. I think that's one place we have the opportunity to showcase and gain support. The other one is just extracurricular funding of different programs with our concentration of 70, 80%. I don't know the exact number, and I don't want to quote it, but a high concentration of extracurricular participation and how that translates into culture, into kids, finding their passions and identities, and then ultimately evolving into a component of safety and security. But certainly the graduate profile and how it augments the success of that, I think those areas could be carved into components that could drive funding. So those are two areas I think we excel at, that we can tell a great story in, and that we can certainly bring value to others to discuss and hopefully drive some funding.
Kind of to piggyback off that, I think being able to show our legislators the shortfall we have in security as well as special education, and helping them try to get us to a break-even point on that. Then also just I think it's a no-brainer, but funding on enrollment. Because, they just said it was $330,000, or Barrett did, for 1%. So, we're at 96%, so that's, what, $1.2 million, something like that, that's a shortfall.
I agree with everything that's been said. I certainly support the legislative committee kind of narrowing these down. But I still really like some of the stuff that's on here. So I would agree with the safety and security. The legislature did provide certain funding in the last session, but it provides only a fraction of what we're required to spend by law, let alone what we think we need to actually keep kids safe. So I think that's an important story. We have such a wonderful school marshal program. We can tell some really great stories. I also agree with Mark's point. If we can tell the story of unfunded mandates, if the legislative committee can work with the district administration to try to explain some of these really clear examples of where we're required by law to provide a service to which we have no funding, because that deficit is coming directly out of our classrooms. I totally agree with enrollment on attendance versus attendance. And I think inflation is still a really important point, because I agree with you, Marvin. I don't think there's an appetite to continue to increase funding, but that doesn't mean the reality of inflation is not there. And although this probably also won't get traction, I still think it's important. I think one of our biggest risks is the continued erosion of local decision-making to Austin. And so even if we're not asking them to do anything, just that they would continue to keep in mind that, Texas foundational is built on locally elected officials making community-focused decisions. So I still think that's really important.
I think the two tie together with lack of local control and the mandates, because they're taking decision-making away and saying you must do this, but they're not providing even basic funding to cover those mandates. So I think what I'm hearing, and I think this jives with some of the discussions we've had, is maybe we merge some of these things into more narrow points, that because they do touch on each other.
I think one thing I picked up on, I agree with everything that's been said, but I think we have a great story to tell this year specifically. We have a partnership with Baylor on the GT side. There's a lot more that we can maybe leverage from that, and I would love to kind of see that story be taken forward in our advocacy as well.
Kind of like on the safety side, tell the great story and then have the ask. Anything we think we're missing that we want to add?
No, I think the comments I've heard resonate with some of my initial thoughts. I definitely would have an ask of administration prior to our next committee meeting if there could be some work done on the gap analysis, on some of the just exactly like some of the talking points we had previously on the specific numbers. I think as we see where the biggest gaps are, maybe that, and if we can align where the biggest gaps are also on where we think we might be able to get traction, then that could help guide us in figuring out where the top priorities are. Same thing on unfunded mandates. If we can put some numbers to where we actually think we're having to spend money but not getting direct funding, those are, I think, very specific, easy conversations to have with lawmakers, whether it's us or people in the community. If we can really show them, hey, you're telling us we have to do this, you passed the law to do it, but here's the money you're not giving us to do it. That should be an easy conversation to have, and if they pass the law in the first place, they should be receptive at least to having the conversation about funding it. At least I would think so.
On the dollars you're showing them, I think even though it's out of the capital dollars, what we spent on safety, it'd be nice to show that. I know it's not in our M&O, but just to show that, hey, we spent $1 million or $2 million out of capital funds the last couple of years to increase our safety.
And I think as we put these numbers together, Thomas, if you don't mind also looking at it as percentages, because sometimes the dollars, when you're talking, if they're talking to a district that's 10 times our size, our dollars don't seem to carry the same weight, but when we talk about percentage of budgets, that should be more apples to apples. And then I guess I totally agree when it comes to the idea about the loss of local control. I would ask anybody that has specific stories or ideas around that. The more, I've definitely learned over the years, the more we can tell a story about what this is doing on real impact, the more effect it has when we're trying to have those conversations. Same thing around, I know we've talked about it a lot on that, to bear it to your point around the extracurricular opportunities. But I know with our continued budget constraints, we're going to continue to face difficult decisions moving forward, and being able to tell the story about the impact that all of these amazing programs that we have had on students is what's gonna matter at the end of the day. So all the specifics we can get in any of these areas, and around that number 3, around the community-focused governance, I think would be helpful as we meet as a committee and try to refine this for our 2026-27 goals.
The other thing that is a suggestion too would be, I know that the last legislative session had just a remarkable number of education bills, and we've kind of talked anecdotally about the fact that maybe some of them need some cleanup or some wording improvement or something, just because the implementation was a little different than maybe it was intended. This might be too much to do for the February version of this, but I'm also interested in understanding if we have specific suggestions for cleanup language, then we can add that as some additional talking points.
I agree with that. I don't know if that would, in my mind, rise to the level of our district legislative priority, but it could very easily be on the second page. That's our kind of working document for talking points as we get closer to session and start having more of these detailed conversations. So I like that idea too, Jilly. Anybody has any other feedback after tonight as you continue to review these? Please don't hesitate to pass it along, because I do think this is an important process we go through each year as we develop these priorities.
Thank you very much for the discussion. And just as we mentioned, the legislative subcommittee will take this feedback tonight and translate this into a set of suggested legislative priorities, and we'll continue the conversation at future meetings. Agenda item number 21 is to consider an act on calling a school trustee general election for May 2nd, 2026. As everyone knows, the board contains 7 members, which each serve 3-year terms on a rotating basis. This coming May in 2026, positions 4 and 5 are up for election. The item before us tonight is to consider entry into a joint election service agreement with Collin County to run the election. Trustees, do we have any questions for Ms. Taylor? No? Please note the recommended motion language in your board book, and I will entertain a motion.
You got it. I'll make a motion to approve the order of election authorizing the May 2nd, 2026 school trustee general election for places 4 and 5 for a 3-year term.
Second.
A motion and a second. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please both say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we're at the end of our meeting tonight, and we have some announcements. Ms. Cordell?
Thank you. We are excited to celebrate our robotics program. We made robotics, Lovejoy Robotics history. We had 2 teams that qualified for the World Championships at the same signature event. So congratulations to Team 1082E, Carbonated Potato, who was also the tournament champion, and 1082M, Team Meltdown, for the design award. And I think they name the teams this way just so we will repeat their team name, but congratulations, and I know they are going to do great things at Worlds. We also want to celebrate and recognize our cheer program. They competed in the UIL Spirit State Championship this past weekend and earned 6th place, so strong top 10 finish, so congratulations to our cheer program. We also have our Lovejoy 2030 Strategic Planning 4-year refresh update. We are excited to welcome the Strategic Planning Committee to our district on Thursday and Friday of this week, and then we will be back together again with them on February 11th. You can expect a public presentation at the regular board meeting on March 30th, and then we will bring a draft plan for your consideration of action on April 13th. We also, speaking of parent and community engagement, are so pleased to have the Leadership Lovejoy program again this year. It is very strong with 18 enthusiastic participants. We have loved getting to know some of them and get to know some of them even better. And they have taken a deep dive into our school district. We started off with a scavenger hunt over here at administration. They have had a safety and security briefing, including engagement with our drone program. They also had the opportunity to visit transportation, Willow Springs Middle School, hear from our finance department, our curriculum instruction department, and they're still not done. But you can expect that in April, they will be here at the April Board of Trustees meeting to be recognized and for y'all to hear about their experience. And we are so fortunate to have a board liaison to that program. And so, Mr. Bobo, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Absolutely. This Leadership Lovejoy class has been just a great class. It's been one of our largest classes since I've been involved with this program. When I started? 4 years? I'm not sure. It's been a very long time. I've enjoyed every single class, no matter what your size is. It's okay. We all get to ride the yellow bus to all the different campuses. We get to engage with each other. We have nicknames for each other. If you want to be a part of that. Oh, dang it, I forgot what they called me.
Were you Marvelous?
Marvelous Marvin. Yes, that's what it was, Marvelous Marvin. Sorry. And then, let me see, what else has been fun about this group? They've been very engaging. They've definitely asked some very good questions. They've asked some difficult questions of me and some difficult questions for the different department heads and, of course, with Katie here. So they're very insightful, and so I have enjoyed being a part of this program. But part of the reason I wanted to talk today is I'm actually handing it off tonight. So that is now going to Trustee Stock, who will be taking on this role for the rest of the year. And I'm so grateful for that because I scheduled a ski trip during the next meeting. So sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Bobo, and thank you, Ms. Cordell, for those announcements. So just in closing tonight, on behalf of the board, we just wanted to express our appreciation for the thoughtful efforts during School Board Appreciation Month, particularly to our campus principals who hosted us for visits, and to our Lovejoy Visual Arts program, who every year surprises us with thoughtful and creative art project. So most of us, personality-wise, are not always comfortable being the center of attention, but we did want to say we felt thoroughly celebrated and recognized, so thank you for that. Please know that it is an honor to serve our schools and our community in this role, so thank you. Looking ahead, the board and district administration will be hosting our next community coffee talk on Wednesday, February 11th at 8 a.m. at Lovejoy High School. And we would like to invite you, our parents and community members, to mark your calendars and to attend so that we can meet you and hear from you. In terms of meetings, the board will hold a workshop on Monday, February 9th, and the next regular meeting will be on Monday, February 23rd. And with that, we will be adjourned.